Good morning, Brownsville. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're watching this feed. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Frankie Olivo. Our program focuses on the very important issues that are affecting our local community. We have shed light on injustices, and we have allowed for our platform, this mic, to be that of the voice of the people. Now, if this is something that you can see yourself supporting, we ask that you like, comment, and share this live feed. As of late, our Facebook page is at risk of being taken down. The powers that be do not want you, the voter, the constituent, to know the truth. But remember, we will not be silenced. Now, if you're really about the cause and you want to stand up to corruption and you want to hold our elected leaders accountable, well, make sure you subscribe to our social media platforms. We could be found under X, formerly known as Twitter, and Facebook under Frankie Olivo. Also, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel titled Frankie Olivo TV. Remember, Good Morning Brownsville will come on Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. religiously. So make sure that you subscribe to Frankie Olivo TV on YouTube to tune in every day. We will not be silenced. And always remember, Brownsville, I will forever be grateful for the time and attention that you provide us each time we come on. Thank you so much for that. How we doing, chat? How we doing? Happy Monday. We're starting to get back to reality. School is about to go back into session in a few weeks. Teachers are bound to go back to the classrooms to get ready. It seems as if our vacation, our summer vacation, is slowly coming to an end. And we've been before you day in and day out, providing you with all the latest information that has been going on. And we try to make sure that everything that we talk about is relevant to the Rio Grande Valley, South Texas, but more importantly, to the city of Brownsville. Today, ladies and gentlemen, in Austin, it is going to be a very, very interesting day. Today will ultimately shape the outcome of our local representatives here for our congressional district race of District 34. Legislators will be called into a special session by Governor Abbott, and there are many topics that will be discussed, but the one that we will focus on mainly will be one that many did not think was going to happen. What is interesting about politics, ladies and gentlemen, and we've said this before, is that there's never a dull day in politics. It doesn't matter whether it's here in Cameron County, at the state level in Austin, or even in the major leagues, which is Washington, D.C. Things change in a New York minute. It seems as if one day you thought that you were up, you were good, the next day you're possibly scrambling and back to the drawing boards. Today we titled our program, Will Congressman Vicente Gonzales stay in District 34 race after redistricting? We anticipate that there will be lots of changes. And for us nerds, the Super Bowl is today at 12 p.m. because a special session called by Governor Abbott will commence. And that is how we will start today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in, Brownsville.
Questions. One of the big stories we're following is the state's controversial congressional redistricting, a request made by President Trump.
Are you calling them for a complete redrawing of the congressional map?
No, just a very simple redrawing. We pick up 5 seats. But we have a couple of other states where we'll pick up seats also.
Republicans are preparing to redraw the state's congressional maps during a special session this week, an effort to acquire 5 new winnable seats for the GOP that would help the party avoid losing House control in the 2026 elections. Trump's push comes as there are a number of political danger signs for his presidency, including his handling of the Jeffrey Epstein case and new polling showing most adults in the U.S. think his policies have not helped them, and his tax cut and spending bill aim to help the wealthy.
Governor Gavin Newsom in California has talked about a redistricting in his state. I think it's time that we match fire with fire. I think Democrats in the past too often have been more concerned with being right than being in power.
Democratic state lawmakers are contemplating a walkout, in other words, staying away from the Capitol in Austin this week to deny the legislature the minimum number needed to convene. Lawmakers could be fined up to $500 a day for breaking a quorum after the House changed its rules when Democrats initiated a walkout in 2021. Republican Attorney General Ken Paxton posted, "Any Democrats who walk should be arrested."
They feel like the momentum is shifting away from them, and it's Speaker Jeffries, it's not Speaker Johnson. So on that basis, they got to rig the game. You got to change the game because you can't win by the existing rules. So he goes in and talks to these guys that should be focused on flood preparedness, should be focused on restoring NOAA and the weather investments that they need to make and the resiliency efforts, to talk about getting FEMA back on track and how little accountability with Kristi Noem and some of those early decisions that were made or not made. Instead, they're using that special session to weaponize for the next election.
Well, given the tone, extreme partisan gerrymandering might be an effort made across the country to maximize political gain. We are working to get answers on this still developing story, including what are the other states President Trump plans to target for redistricting. Will Governor Gavin Newsom follow through with talks of redistricting in California? And when it comes to convening in Austin this week, will Democratic state lawmakers show up? We've got you covered with team coverage of the special session. We'll continue to work to get answers on this story and others. We'll be here every week to let you know what we find out. Tackling your unanswered questions, I'm News 4 San Antonio's Darian Trout.
Now, again, whatever happens in Austin today will ultimately affect the Rio Grande Valley, and many people did not see this coming. What we have seen from President Trump and his administration has been that ever since he took office in mid-January, his administration has been very swift in their promises that they made during the campaign. Many people have been up in arms and have criticized the president based on his promises that he's been making. Now, what is interesting to learn, and we will discuss today, is the players involved. It's interesting, ladies and gentlemen, how things are quickly happening in the background. We have yet to learn, or we don't really know what the new district maps will be, but players, those with influence, are already working behind the scenes. They're wheeling and dealing. They're trying to figure out what best suits them moving forward. Today, we'll be talking about 4 very influential people. We'll be talking about our Representative Janie Lopez, our Congressman Vicente Gonzales, our Senator Adam Hinojosa, and former Congresswoman Mayra Flores. Today in Austin, Governor Abbott has called a special session where legislators will be handling and discussing very important matters that are pressing issues for us Texans. Many Democrats here in the state and in Congress, they have criticized President Trump's plan to redraw the state's political map in the middle of the decade, labeling it as a threat to democracy. And they're warning their GOP counterparts that this aggressive gerrymandering, it could come back to haunt them. Right now, currently, the Republican-controlled Texas legislature, well, they're bound to consider a new set of congressional maps during a special session that is set up for today at 12 p.m. And when we talk about what is happening, ladies and gentlemen, this is coming from the very top. This is coming from President Trump. The idea is that President Trump's advisors, they want to drop a new map. Why? Because they want GOP representatives, Republicans, to give them a better chance to flip seats that are currently held by the Democrats. Now, this proposal, which would involve shifting of GOP voters from what was safe red districts into neighboring blue districts. Why is this? Well, this is aimed at safeguarding Republican thin majority in Congress, where they control the chamber, 220 to 212. Now, remember, it's all a numbers game. Without a Republican majority in Congress, Trump's legislative agenda would likely stall. And then the president could face investigations, possibly from newly empowered Democratic community chairs, because ultimately they're going to scrutinize the White House. So what is happening in D.C., ladies and gentlemen, is because they are tired of having close votes. They need margins. And this game is all about margins. It's all about a numbers game. How can we get more seats? How can we narrow the gap? How can we create a bigger gap moving forward? Now, this isn't something new, ladies and gentlemen. If I'm not mistaken, back in 2021, the map was redrawn for Vicente Gonzales. So this isn't something that is new. It may be new because it is happening in the middle of the decade. Usually we wait for a census to happen. But again, to the victors, as they say, goes the spoils. Have the Democrats done this before? Yes. Do they do it to stay in power? Ultimately, that is the name of the game. We have talked about important issues that will be discussed moving forward. Legislation to comprehensively regulate hemp-deprived products, their potency, the way they're modified, their compounds. They want to establish mechanisms. They want to make sure that all of this is without banning any agricultural commodities. We talked previously about the rift that happened between our governor and our lieutenant governor, where our lieutenant governor, shortly after this was stalled in regards to the THC, in regards to marijuana issue, the lieutenant governor went live and he said, hey, I've been blindsided by the governor. We have been vocal about allowing our senior citizens, our veterans, to have options. Many have criticized the lieutenant governor for banning hemp, banning THC in favor of pharmaceutical companies, the big donors. We're no medical experts, but what we have seen firsthand has been that people become dependent on opioids. Me being an insurance broker, I deal with this on a day-to-day basis. There are others in the state of Texas that want options. They don't want their senior citizens, their grandparents, their loved ones to be dependent on pharmaceuticals. Maybe hemp allows senior citizens to calm their anxieties, allows them to sleep, gives them some sort of comfort moving forward. Also, a big topic is going to be discussed today, eliminating the STAR test. Legislation to eliminate the STAR test and replace it with effective tools to assess students' progress and make sure that it ensures that school districts are held more accountable. During my generation, it was a tax test. Then it became the STAR. But what have we seen? That these formats, that these standardized testing does not replicate, does not cross over into the real world, or possibly we haven't been getting the results that we've been expecting. Many have attributed that to, not all students perform well on standardized tests. Maybe we need to modify this. This is something that will be discussed today in Austin. Also, who can forget of what happened in the Hill Country, in Central Texas, in Kerrville? We have hundreds of people that have lost their lives. And we have seen people on both sides of the aisle lay blame on each other. The special session set for today at noon will target issues such as flood warning systems. They want to improve early warning systems, focus on infrastructure in those areas throughout Texas that are flood prone. They want to focus on emergency communications. They want to pass legislation that is going to strengthen communications and other responses throughout Texas. There is going to be legislation to provide relief for the Hill Country floods, the response during the storm that began earlier this month in July. They want to make sure that individuals are eligible for jurisdictions for FEMA assistance. They also want to pass legislation or focus on legislation that evaluates and streamlines rules and regulations to be more prepared for these types of natural disasters, to be more prepared for recovery efforts. That is what's going to happen in Austin. Another important issue discussed is legislation to reduce property taxes. Why? Because we have seen how this has been a burden on Texans. When we think of our senior citizens, with the cost of living here in South Texas has skyrocketed. We have senior citizens that live on a fixed income from Social Security. We have seen firsthand of how the likes of SpaceX has increased property values. Now, while that may be good for those individuals that are selling, for those senior citizens, they can't afford the increase in property taxes. Why? Cost of living has gone up. Inflation, rent is unbearable, and property taxes needs to be addressed. But also, ladies and gentlemen, the key issue, or the issue that we'll be focusing on today for today's segment, will be legislation that provides a revised congressional redistricting plan in light of constitutional concerns raised by the United States Department of Justice. Now, when we talk about redistricting, this isn't common to happen during the middle of the decade. What we have seen from President Trump is that he is asking legislators throughout the United States to focus on changing areas that were predominantly blue to be more competitive. What we have learned from Austin insiders has been that nobody wants to go up against President Trump. We have seen how We have seen how everyone, and I guess it's fair to say, everyone is scared of President Trump. As of right now, he's wheeling and dealing. If you haven't heard about what's been happening, what happened this past week, Tulsi Gabbard did release a memo that showed that President Obama knew firsthand about the Russia hoax. And they did nothing. Even after this memo was presented to his administration, they still concocted the idea. Can you imagine that? How a sitting president was trying to derail an incoming president's administration? Many people have stated that that is treason. President Trump just yesterday posted a very interesting video of President Obama getting arrested. We've seen how he's threatened the Wall Street Journal based on allegations that President Trump wrote a happy birthday card to Jeffrey Epstein in the shape of a naked woman. President Trump denied that, and he filed a lawsuit against Wall Street Journal and its representatives. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, nobody wants to go up against President Trump. Would it be in their best interest to fight an incoming president who, whether you agree or not, is very strong? Texas being a hardcore red state, they're pretty much saying, President Trump, how can we help you, sir? Essentially, what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen, today at noon is going to be that Austin is going to present a map that is given to them by who? You guessed it, by President Trump and his administration. Now, I know what you're thinking. Whoa. That's not how it works, Frankie. Well, yes, it is. Why? Because ultimately, the one that it's going to affect is going to be President Trump and his administration. We have talked previously about him increasing the margins. And if they could get 5 more Republican seats in Texas, if they draw it the right way, it will increase their chances in controlling Congress. Why? Because they do not want to deal with people like Chip Roy. They don't want to deal with individuals that are rhinos. They want to see true hardcore red Republicans that are going to align with this administration, this presidential administration's agenda. That is what's happening at the very top. And we're gonna see it today. Again, if you're a nerd like us, you live for this stuff. This is our Super Bowl, a special legislative session that is happening that's ultimately going to affect the maps. It's awesome. I'm busy for work, but I'm going to have an ear pod for the special session. I'm going to have an ear pod for my clients. And we're going to get through this day. But today is going to be very exciting because ultimately it's going to affect us here in South Texas. It's going to affect us here in Brownsville. Thank you so much for those individuals that are watching us on X, formerly known as Twitter. We just started streaming live last week. We're while we have our numbers in the teens, we're going to grow our page. And thank you so much. If you're tuning in from X, thank you so much. The best is yet to come. I promise you that. We will shortly be coming on back on Facebook next Monday. And we will give you nothing but bangers, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you so much for those individuals that are watching us currently on X. But we ask ourselves, or we pose you, the viewers, we pose you the question, what's going to happen? What's going to happen to those individuals in politics currently right now? What we have seen from Congressman Vicente Gonzales was that he chose to run here in our area. He is an attorney from the Hidalgo County area who chose not to run against Monica de la Cruz. What's going to happen to Vicente Gonzales moving forward? Many people, many pundits are saying that this ultimately is going to cause Vicente Gonzales to not run in this area. Now, it's going to be interesting. All this, ladies and gentlemen, all this is going to depend on where the map is drawn. Vicente Gonzales is reportedly to have a war chest of $7 million. Who's gonna run up against that? And many individuals are saying, well, Vicente Gonzales is strong. Yes, but it's all logistics. It is going to determine on where the map is going to be drawn. If I can show you right now, and I want you to focus. I want you to focus on the map to the right. This map, ladies and gentlemen, is the current map of District 34. District 34, as of right now, currently, we have Cameron, Willacy, Kennedy, and Kleberg County. Congressman Vicente Gonzales has been victorious in his previous two elections. Many have attributed that because these counties are favorably blue. What did we see? What did we see from his last race? Well, we saw how, if I could get this on here, how his last race, ladies and gentlemen, he just won his race by 5,000 votes. Now, when we think of 5,000 votes, it sounds like a lot, right? 5,000 votes. When we think of local elections, BISD, Cameron County, we think of those races, 5,000 votes is a lot. It really is. Well, it sounds like a lot. But in reality, ladies and gentlemen, 5,000 votes in a congressional race is nothing. You mean to tell me that Mayra Flores lost a district that was favorable to Democrats by 5,000 votes? When we think of percentages, that's a 2.5, 3% margin. That's too close to call. Now, when we talk about Adam Hinojosa's race against Morgan La Mantilla, what did we see? Well, we saw how he chose to run again. Why? Because he only lost by 5,000 votes. 500 votes, I apologize. That was a no-brainer. We saw how President Trump while he did win District 34 by 2 to 3 points, Mayra Flores was still not able to win in that district. Why? Many attributed it to being predominantly blue. So moving forward, ladies and gentlemen, if the map is drawn the way we think it's going to be drawn, it's going to favor the Reds. It's going to favor the Republicans. And we did show, ladies and gentlemen, of a possibility. Now, I've been criticized for this because what we did show from on our page, on our platform, of a map, of a potential map that that could possibly be the new drawing of the map, it's favorable to the Reds. Let me show you. And again, this is not going to be the map, but it's going to be interesting. Again, just for clarification, that this isn't the map. I showed you previously of the District 34 map. Cameron, Willacy, Kleberg, and Kennedy County. Well, while this is not the map, ladies and gentlemen, what I can guarantee you, well, I shouldn't say that's a strong word. Guarantee is possibly like a love, right? I can guarantee you. There's no guarantees in life, obviously. But what many Austin insiders anticipate is that the new map, the new redistricting map, will go into Nueces County, would go into Kennedy, would go into Kleberg, but then will go into Nueces County. Many people state, no, Frankie, you got this wrong. You posted this. This isn't the right map. We agree. We don't know what President Trump's administration is going to present. We don't know the map. What we do know, or what we do anticipate, is that the new map will get a large part, if not all, of Nueces County. And when we think of Nueces County, ladies and gentlemen, think of red. That's what I want you to think of. Nueces County, I would dare state that it is what, 70% red? They're hardcore, ladies and gentlemen. They're hardcore. Now, when we talk about the players involved, again, once it was known that Texas was going to redistrict areas that were favorable to the Blues, that were favorable to Republicans, we had all these politicos working behind the scenes. What's best for our camp moving forward? There is talks, ladies and gentlemen. There is talks that Vicente Gonzales might not even run in District 34, depending on the map. There are people that are saying that he might retire. He's either going to retire or he's going to go up against Monica de la Cruz. We anticipate District 15 to also be redrawn. I think the margin for District 15, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, the margin, the way the map is drawn right now, I think it's +9, +8, anywhere from +7 to +9. And you may think, well, what does that mean? Well, that's the margin. That's how many points they have. The more points you have, the more comfort level you have in that area. So what's going to happen to Vicente Gonzales, Congressman Vicente Gonzales, if District 34 is favorable to the Reds? Many Austin insiders state that Vicente's not going to run. We saw how he didn't run against Monica. What was it, 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 4 years ago? He ran down here. Is he going to go back if he sees that Nueces County is on the map? We don't know. Why do we say this? Well, nobody wants to go against the grain, so to speak. Nobody wants to fight a fight that is probably unobtainable, unwinnable. Again, millions of dollars are at risk. Millions of dollars. And if President Trump wants South Texas to reign red, best believe that big donors in Austin, Houston, Dallas, they're going to pour heavy money in South Texas, heavy money in District 34. Why? Because they want to appease President Trump. They want to turn this area red. So I'm going to give you some scenarios. We talked about Congressman Vicente Gonzales. Many insiders in Austin are saying Vicente Gonzales will not run if the map is drawn how I previously showed you. Again, we don't know, but we anticipate that the new map is going to encompass, if not all, a majority of Nueces County. Now, when we think of what about the other players? Frankie, why do you have Janie Lopez? Frankie, why do you have Mayra? Why do you have Adam Hinojosa? Again, parties are working behind the scenes, are working around the clock. We've heard through the grapevine, ladies and gentlemen, that Janie Lopez, our state rep, is telling people there is talks of her running for Congress. Many people say that it was always her plan to run for Congress. Because when you think about it, a rep, the only thing you can do as a rep is move up. She's obviously not going to challenge Adam Hinojosa at the Senate. But if there's this vacant seat, will she consider running for Congress? There's almost certain that this new redistrict map will be a safe seat for a Republican. Currently, right now, Janie Lopez has an opponent, a primary opponent. Does it make sense for her to run for Congress? Possibly. While she's telling people, and she did announce for re-election, she's probably thinking, hey, I'm an elected official. I'm from the area. I've been endorsed by President Trump. Maybe it's my time. Maybe that's what Janie's thinking. Now, we don't feel that Janie Lopez feels threatened by her opponent. We've heard from her camp that she laughed at the thought of her opponent, of the way she made the announcement. No press release. The press release was mumbo jumbo, no video. She's not worried about her opponent based on insiders from her camp. She says that she has it in the bag. How is somebody going to challenge her in the primary? She has the support of Austin. She has the support of President Trump. So she's not worried about her primary opponent for District 37. So maybe she has her eyes set on Washington. Maybe she has her eyes set in Congress. Now, Adam Hinojosa, Frankie, why do you have Adam Hinojosa? Again, we anticipate that the map will be drawn heavily or will encompass all, if not most, of Nueces County. Where is Adam Hinojosa from, ladies and gentlemen? Well, he was, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, he was born in Brownsville or has roots in Brownsville. His stronghold is in Corpus. His stronghold is Nueces County. Everyone knows that. Could Senator Adam Hinojosa, who just beat Morgan La Mantilla this past November, would he be thinking about running for Congress? Now, when you think of the Senate position, while the Senate position is big here in Texas, you can't compare that to a congresswoman. You can't compare that to a congressman. Congressmen, they get paid $150,000. They make the big bucks. The prestige of being a congressman is much higher than that what it is of being a senator for the respective state. Now, while we do not anticipate Adam Hinojosa making this run, it's interesting to learn that if he were, and thinking hypothetically, if he were to announce for Congress, he doesn't have to step down from his position as senator. He could run and still hold his seat. Would it be favorable to him? Does he have to ask the powerhouses in Austin? Do I stay? Do I go? What's my best choice? At the end of the day, they want the team player. The most interesting thing, ladies and gentlemen, of all this is Mayra Flores. Mayra Flores, ladies and gentlemen. Mayra Flores is very, very interesting. While she has announced that she will be running for Henry Cuellar's spot in Laredo Webb County, District 28, many insiders are saying, not so fast. Not so fast. Why are you saying this, Frankie? She already gave her, she made the announcement. Henry Cuellar is under a federal indictment. He is set to go to trial August or September. He has the full weight of the Department of Justice. While Henry Cuellar has been favorable to the GOP, many people have stated the only reason why Henry Cuellar is doing this is because he wants the Department of Justice, President Trump's administration, to go easy on him and on his wife. They are both federally indicted on very serious matters of being foreign agents, of accepting money from foreign countries. They're facing the piper. Many people have said, no. Mayra's already destined for 28. What are you talking about, Frankie? When we talk about name recognition, ladies and gentlemen, and if the map is drawn the way insiders in Austin anticipate, Mayra will come back. Mayra Flores will run in District 34. It's just a matter of time. And if I was a betting man, I would bet the house on this. Maybe it's not a smart move, but I would do it. If the map is drawn the way many anticipate, it being predominantly red, again, they're going to shoot for the 7, 8, 9-point margin to make sure that whoever comes out of the primary for the GOP in District 34, that is the nominee. We don't have to wait until November. That is why people are saying Vicente's gone. Vicente's not going to run if the map is drawn the way many people anticipate. Frankie, but Mayra lost twice. What are you talking about? She's been rejected twice. Remember the 5,000 vote difference that we talked about earlier? Remember that? While 5,000 votes seems like a lot, ladies and gentlemen, in reality, it is not. 5,000 votes is a small town. 5,000 votes, she can win that in Nueces County. Is it a coincidence that Mayra's been in Brownsville as of late? Is it a coincidence that she posted President Trump's endorsement of her? Of her recent race? Is it a coincidence? No. It is no coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. Will President Trump endorse her? We anticipate he will. Why? It's all about name recognition. Now, just imagine. Let's just imagine if the map that is withdrawn doesn't go into Hidalgo County. What does that say about Eric Flores? It says a lot. And we will be working on a story on Eric Flores. We've been getting a lot of information in regards to himself and his family. So we'll be touching on that subject a little bit later. But it's interesting, ladies and gentlemen, that Mayra, if the map is redrawn, Mayra will come back. Mayra gives the Republican Party the best chance to win moving forward. Why? Because it's all about name recognition. The GOP does not have to worry about getting the name of an unknown candidate out there. We'll talk about we've talked about Epstein last week, Cindy. We're focused on the redistricting maps right now. Focus, Cindy, focus. If the map is drawn, ladies and gentlemen, we anticipate Mayra coming back. Mayra gives the Republican Party the best chance to win moving forward. If she only lost by 5,000 votes in a map that is favorable to the Blues, favorable to the Democrats, what do you think the number will be if the new map is drawn for the Republicans? I pose you the question, my people. Today at 12, it's all going to happen. People's lives are about to change. For the better, for the good. Who is the best person moving forward to give the GOP that seat? Mayra Flores. Mayra Flores has name recognition. Mayra Flores has demonstrated that she's a campaigner, that she could raise big bucks. She has the endorsement, the approval of President Trump. That is very, very important. The caveat is Janie willing to throw her hat in the ring? That is something for us to monitor. And that, my friends, is the rest of the story. Ladies and gentlemen, today is going to be a very interesting day. the STAR testing, legalization on hemp marijuana. We'll keep you posted. We'll be following this like crazy. I do have to work, but I'll be working the phones. Good thing that we have. We'll be keeping you posted, Patricia Hernandez, in regards to all the latest updates. Because again, we have the STAR test. Are they going to eliminate the STAR test? Are they going to implement new tools? How are they going to modify the standardized testing? Property taxes is a very big issue too. There are people that are calling for the elimination of property taxes. Why? Because our senior citizens are those that are greatly affected by this. The flood, the response, the system, communications, preparation, recovery. But for us here in South Texas, the thing that we are going to be watching like a hawk, you're welcome, is the redistricting. We anticipate, ladies and gentlemen, that District 34, which is currently, which Congressman Vicente Gonzales is a congressman, we anticipate that will be redrawn favorable to the GOP. We anticipate that, and we will calculate, or we will bet that the margin for a GOP candidate will be between 7 to 9 points, meaning that the Democrats aren't going to look good. They're going to consider, oh man, do I want to spend millions of dollars going up against a juggernaut? Because the odds will be stacked against them. Who is the person that could secure this seat? Mayra Flores. Mayra Flores only lost by 5,000 votes in a predominantly blue drawn map. Mayra Flores could secure the victory moving forward. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Frank Olivo. Thank you so much for your time and your attention. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Frank Olivo TV. We're currently streaming live on X, formerly known as Twitter. And thank you so much to all the viewers on X. We have got something good going. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Frank Olivo, and this is Good Morning Brownsville. Have a great Monday. I know I will. Ciao!